showing up at a libertarian event, which, they love him there too.
Well done, President Trump. I think you won the hearts and minds of a whole lot of libertarians out there and a whole lot of other Americans.
You should nominate me or at least vote for me, and we should win together.
MAGA Fox News hosts and MAGA Republicans are struggling to cope with the fact that Donald Trump, a famous authoritarian, was mercilessly booed and heckled as he gave a speech in front of the Libertarian Party Convention over the weekend, and it was glorious, and we have to talk about it. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bell before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to look at in this video. Again, Donald Trump is probably the most famous authoritarian leader in the world, certainly up there with the likes of Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping and Kim Jong-un, all three people whom he aspires to be and professes public respect for. And before I give you some of the clips of Trump speaking at the Libertarian Party Convention, I just want to play this one here as kind of a palate cleanser of Tomi Lahren, a famous right-wing MAGA sympathizing Fox News host, trying to sneak in there that actually libertarians in the Libertarian Party Convention, they love Donald Trump.
Now, this would seem to be a favorable environment for the president, maybe more favorable than some of the other events he's done in the last week, showing up to the Bronx, showing up at a libertarian event, which, they love him there too.
And you notice like how her voice went up 3 octaves. The New York City libertarians, and they love Donald Trump. Well, actual footage of the event begs to differ. So I'm going to play 2 clips. Again, Donald Trump speaking at the Libertarian Party Convention.
Combined with us in a partnership, we're asking that of the libertarians. We must work together. Combine with us. You have to combine with us. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years. We cannot give crooked Joe Biden 4 more years.
Those aren't cheers. Those are very obvious, audible boos. Okay, just one more clip. I love Donald Trump, of course, being a cult leader, somebody who commands influence over tens of millions of Americans, people who, just hate others at this man's whim, a man they've never met. Seeing him confronted with people who actually stick to their principles, surprisingly, and we'll get into that in a minute, and just mercilessly boo and heckle him. Love to see it.
Now I think you should nominate me or at least vote for me, and we should win together.
You see the visible rage on his face, the frustration, the contempt, even that smile there. He's like, oh, U.S. So now, of course, he's probably thinking, libertarians, you stand no chance whatsoever of winning any sort of presidential election, which is true. But again, these people, libertarians, of course, who think like property tax is theft and, tax funded fire departments is a sign of tyranny. Of course, if they're principled, they're going to despise somebody like Donald Trump, who doesn't believe in small government. Donald Trump is a guy who says he wants to sic the power of the federal government on a free press, that he wants to use the military to crack down on dissidents and protesters and people he doesn't like. Donald Trump, again, publicly, repeatedly professes admiration for world-famous foreign autocrats and authoritarians. So again, a principled libertarian, which is even like more small government than your standard conservative, of course are going to despise him. But it's not just Fox News hosts like Tomi Lahren trying to, again, struggling to cope and trying to spin the obvious disdain that these people had for Donald Trump. You also have losers like MAGA Republican Senator from Utah, Mike Lee, who goes out of his way to disgrace and debase himself as much as possible. He threw up this 30-second video, again, trying to spin Donald Trump's performance at the Libertarian Party Convention.
Okay, so I just finished speaking at the Libertarian Convention, and then President Trump spoke right after me. This was amazing. No other president in U.S. history, to my knowledge, has ever shown up at another party's political convention, openly asked for their endorsement, and just really hit the ground running. Well done, President Trump. I think you won the hearts and minds of a whole lot of libertarians out there and a whole lot of other Americans. Thank you.
Yeah, winning hearts and minds of all the people who, again, booed and heckled him. Mike Lee, of course, again, just a coward and a loser of the highest order. This guy was intimately involved in Trump's schemes to try to steal the 2020 election, deserves nothing but contempt. And obviously, again, seeing the footage there of Trump being booed and heckled, it's pretty obvious that libertarians have nothing but disrespect for Trump. Now, Trump himself, of course, said the reason I didn't file paperwork for the Libertarian nomination, which I could have absolutely gotten if I wanted, as everyone could tell by the enthusiasm of the crowd last night, was the fact that as the Republican nominee, I'm not allowed to have the nomination of the other party. And yet again, he was asking for their votes. He was asking for a coalition, team up with me, vote for me. How did that work out? Well, after all of that, after winning the hearts and minds, as Mike Lee says, Trump gets a humiliating 6 votes, 6, not 60, not 606, in Libertarian nomination contest after boo-filled speech. And he was a write-in. To get the 6 that he got, he was a write-in. Now, I'll say here before, this is not me endorsing the Libertarian Party. The Libertarian Party has said some remarkably terrible things. As a matter of fact, the Libertarian Party, I believe it was of New Hampshire, said, correct, libertarians believe that if no one is voluntarily willing to feed a baby, then that baby should be allowed to perish. No one is entitled to the labor or efforts of others. So that just goes to show how, again, think about it. They think that social safety nets, which would feed children who would otherwise die without them, that's a sign of tyranny, that basically any activity by any state, local, or federal government is a sign of tyranny. So again, Donald Trump, they recognize as an authoritarian because he wants to go well beyond these reasonable things. And again, he wants to unleash the military on people who disagree with him. He wants to punish a free and fair press. But the propositions that are offered by the Libertarian Party, again, at least of one chapter, New Hampshire, and you can find other instances as well, truly unhinged, deranged stuff. As I said on Twitter, this unhinged response is one of the many reasons why, thankfully, libertarians will never be a relevant power block. Because, of course, most sane people in a functioning society recognize that the right of babies to live, that the right of babies to not starve to death, the right of babies to be taken care of if their parents are not in a position to provide for essential needs, that's more important than the right of people to accrue unlimited wealth. Okay? This is just, unfortunately, this is where you also know that they have much more in common with modern day Republicans and conservatives, because modern day Republicans and conservatives also don't want a particularly robust social safety net. They probably believe more than this, right? They probably would at least deign to say at least some support should be offered occasionally to babies of lower income, of struggling families, although it's like pulling teeth to get Republicans to even go that far. But again, the libertarians are not going to be a relevant power block. They aren't now. But Donald Trump is so desperate to shore up supports because he knows even now, with him in many cases, in many polls, winning the race so far, he's a wildly unpopular man. He never secured more than 50%. He never reached above 50% approval during his presidency. He's like the first, even President Biden enjoyed several months of above 50. I think it was like in the high 50s or 60s percent popularity. So Donald Trump is uniquely unpopular. And he knows he didn't win the majority vote in 2016 or 2020. He probably won't win the majority vote in 2024. Even if he wins, it'll be due to the Electoral College. So here he is trying to shore up support. And I'll say this for the libertarians there. As abhorrent as their principles are, if your principle is let a baby starve to death because no one is entitled to the labor or efforts of others, again, ridiculous. And by the way, you'll never see a libertarian nation of scale function. We've never seen anything like that because it's just self-defeating. You cannot have a functioning society of any reasonable scale, predicated on a libertarian worldview. I digress. But they were principled enough to reject the blatant authoritarianism of Donald Trump, so I'll give them kudos there. Watching the MAGA Fox News hosts and MAGA Republicans like Mike Lee struggle to cope. Oh, this is really good. He won hearts and minds. They love him. It's demonstrably not true, and it's just pure cope from cultish losers. Let me know what you think in the comments.